Hey, make sure you have these notes in front of you. Today we're talking about integers on the number line. I've cut the top part of the notes off so I didn't waste space, but make sure you put your name, the date, and period 3 or 8, whichever class you are in, and we will get started. Integers on the number line. Integers are positive or, what do you think? Yeah, they're negative. And I'm going to put a little, I'm going to type it in so you can see better because the writing on this is pretty horrible. And I think I'll change it to red. They're either positive or negative. You already know this. And they are positive or negative whole numbers. So up until last year, you only worked with positive whole numbers. And integers just mean take whole numbers and make them negative. But integers include positives as well. And they can be written, and they can be represented with the number line model. So we're going to mark a few points. It says mark a point at both positive 5 and negative 5 on the number line below. Did you notice that the positive 5, even though I read it as positive 5, it doesn't have a plus sign in front of it. It's just assumed. So we're going to mark a dot here. And I think I'll use a different color for the negative. I'll make it red. And the negative 5 is down here. Make sure you're doing this with me. And then it says, describe what you notice to be the difference. Well, I don't know about you, but the positive 5 is 5 to the right of 0. The negative 5 is to the left of 0. I wonder what would happen if I counted all of the spaces between them. Let's just try that. I'm going to try a different color just so you can see. Let's try a purple. And I'm going to count. Now remember, a lot of kids start counting on the space that you're at. You don't start counting on that space. You count the next space. So we're going to go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, so there's 10 spaces between negative 5 and positive 5. Now, do you notice that I didn't say it's negative 10 away or it's positive 10 away. I said the distance is 10 units. So I want you to notice that it's like the absolute value of negative 5. Plus positive 5. So what you're really describing is how far away they are from 0, because that's what absolute value is over here. Let me make this a little bit better. So if this is absolute value of negative 5 being added to the positive 5, that means it's 10 units away. Okay, let's review absolute value. The absolute value of a number is the distance away from 0 on that number line. And I'm going to type it in so you can see better because you know this thing doesn't write very well. While I'm doing this, please start typing in distance. And I will too. Distance away from 0 on the number line. The blank of a number is always the absolute value of the number. The second one we're really not going to talk about too much, but it's the magnitude of a number that is always the absolute value. Magnitude just means like the distance, how far away it is. Okay, so I'm going to type it, but you're not going to hear it too much. Magnitude. You should write it in anyway because you never know. And when you see this, if you remember back to 6th grade, this is read, and I'm going to type it in so you can see it better. It's read as the absolute value of negative 5. Okay, let me type that in. The absolute value, value of negative, now I'll write it out, negative 5. And of course, that equals positive 5. All right, we're going to move on. Determine the absolute value. Oops, I better put this back up here. No, I don't want to. Sorry. Determine the absolute value and then mark each point on the number line. Now I've really messed this up. Okay, here we go. Determine the absolute value, then mark the point on the number line. Well, the absolute value of negative 8 is positive 8. So let's make, oops, let me do it in blue. Let's circle positive 8. I don't know if you can see it on mine, but here we go. I'm going to write A here so you know that that's where I put the A. The absolute value for B of negative 1 is positive 1. So we're going to put a B here. I hope you're doing this with me. You're going to have to show us the notes in a little bit. The absolute value of positive 3 is still positive 3. So I want to put a C there. The absolute value of negative 4.5 is positive 4.5. So the D goes here. And the absolute value of 6 is positive 6. Now I want to show you one thing though. Whoops, this is an E. Sorry. If this was written, let's make an F. What if I had had negative on the outside of positive 6? This would be read the negative value, the negative absolute value of 6. So the absolute value of 6 is 6, but now the negative is on the outside. So in this case, because the negative is outside the brackets, that would be negative 6 way down here. And let's label it with an F. If you don't have all of this written down, please make sure you do. Pause the video because I'm going to move down. That means I have to erase the page. Okay. It says complete the table below. Using the table to the left, determine which two columns could be added to get a sum of 0. All right, well, what would I have to add to negative 6 to get 0? Well, I'd have to add a 6, and the opposite is also 6. If I add these two together, I'll get a 0. That's what we're looking for. That's a 0 pair. If I have the number 18, the absolute value is 18. But the opposite of 18 is negative 18. Which of these which two of the three numbers here can be added to get 0? These two. Circle those, please. The absolute value of 34 is, again, 34. Now, those two numbers, I can't add 34 and 34 to get 0, but I know the opposite of it is negative 34, and I know I can add those two to get 0. So I'm going to circle those. Those are also 0 pairs. The absolute value of negative 67 is positive 67. And right away I know I can add those two together. And the opposite of negative 67 again is positive 67. The absolute value of negative 128 is positive 128. And the opposite of that is also 128. So I can add these two together to get 0 pairs. Whoops. Once you've circled those, I'm going to move the screen down, so you might have to pause, and I'm going to erase the screen, and we're moving down to practice. It says, now try modeling the following problems with a number line. Begin your model at 0. I'm going to use blue, and it says start at 0, and the first number we have here is negative 1. So I'm going to start at 0 and make a little arrow to negative 1. Once I'm at negative 1, I have to turn around because the rest of my expression, in this case, is plus 4. So positive 4 goes to the right. So I'm going to start here at the negative 1 and count 1, 2, 3, 4. Where did I land? I landed at positive 3. All right, let's try some more. Interestingly enough, look at number 2. Same numbers. It says 1 plus negative 4. So I wonder if we're going to get the same answer. It says start at 0, so we're going to start at 0, but this time it says positive 1. Always start, move left to right. So we're going to start here. We've got 1 here. Now this time it says add a negative 4. Adding a negative still means I have to go to the left because negative 4 is to the left. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to count 4 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where did I land? Negative 3. Interesting. That's a little bit different than the first problem. Well, now look at these two. Negative 1 plus negative 4. If I start at 0, the first number says go to negative 4, or negative 1, I'm sorry. And then it says move negative 4 more. So I'm going to start here again and count 4 more to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, look at that. I ended up at a totally different number. Okay, so on number 4, we start at 0 again. This one says to go to 1. Okay, and from here it says add 4 more. So I'm going to start here again. 1, 2, 3, 4. This time I landed at positive 5. Now I want you to notice something. I have 2 different answers. I have actually 4 different answers, but I have 2 different numbers. The first and the second problem gave me an answer of 3, but one is positive and one's negative, which are very different answers, by the way. The second 2 problems were 5s. One was negative, one is positive. Now, why did we get some positives and why did we get some negatives? I want you to look very closely at those and try to figure out what the rule is here. We're going to move down a little bit further. I'm going to clear the screen, so make sure you have all of this. It says, now try modeling the following problems with the number line. Begin your model at 0. Actually, we're going to pause here because it's been 11 minutes and I don't want to bore you. We were going to do this on the computer.